Here.
Finance Manager Gray.
Here.
City Solicitor Rotundo.
Here.
Police Chief Henderson.
Here.
City Secretary Pincus is also.
All right, thank you. All right, action upon the minutes of the previous meeting. Should have a one set of minutes in your pack, should be from July 15th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from July 15th, Mayor Council meeting.
Motion and second, any further discussion? None, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion's carried. Police report, Chief Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Council, city staff, and those in attendance, I'd like to present July's police report. The map depicts the highlighted crimes selected by our statewide crime view and analytical module. Starting with the top, just left of center, you'll see a cluster of 3 different incidents. The purple fraud pinpoint was a debt consolidation company that was able to con a victim out of over $1,000. This incident was forwarded to the victim's banking institution for further investigation. The gray suspicious pinpoint was a vehicle that had stopped in front of the reporting person's residence during the early morning hours and appeared suspicious. The vehicle was gone prior to the officer's arrival and has not been seen in the area since. The green noise violation just below the fraud was a complaint of a loud radio that was not witnessed by officers when they showed up on scene. This is an ongoing issue the department continues to make attempts to resolve with both parties. The green disorderly conduct in the area of 5th and Clinton, near the center of the map, was an incident between 2 adults during daytime hours where a misdemeanor arrest was made. To the right of that is another green disorderly pinpoint that involved a suspicious person who had worn out their stay in Delaware City. Officer Webb effectively persuaded the subject to move on and leave town after a couple nuisance reports involving the subject. The orange act of intimidation pinpoint towards the center of the map was a harassment by phone incident that was handled by the county police. There was no suspect information that was obtained to pursue any further. The simple assault below that was a mutual altercation between 2 adults. Neither of the subjects reside in Delaware City and no arrest was made. Both were referred to court to file for protection from abuse against each other. The green larceny pinpoint in the lower left corner was an incident where the victim reported their wallet lost or stolen. It could not be clearly determined which had occurred, but neither possibility were in our jurisdiction. The victim's bank card was subsequently used unknowingly, resulting in over $3,500 in charges to their account. The department has been working with the victim's bank to assure these funds are recovered and returned to the victim. And the final pinpoint is the simple assault below the larceny, where the Newcastle County Police made a misdemeanor arrest of an adult during the early morning hours. This was an isolated incident where both parties were known to each other. I want to take a minute with the mention of the latest frauds, and they seem to be every month. While we haven't necessarily seen an uptick in frauds and similar incidents, we do handle them on a regular basis and would obviously like to see a lot less. The FBI just announced a Take a Beat campaign to increase awareness of frauds and scams. Based on their report, there have been over $1.6 billion in losses from January to May of this year. Some of the things they recommend are take precautionary measures to protect your identity with strong online account passwords. Always be cautious of unsolicited phone calls and mailings, especially those calls that express a sense of urgency for you to respond or send money by any means. Research any source that does reach out to you to ensure legitimacy on websites such as the Better Business Bureau. Never give or send unverified sources any identity information, money, checks, gifts, cards, or wire information. And for more info, you can go to the FBI website. I also posted a link to Take a Beat campaign on our department's Facebook page. If you look at the bar graph for July, the busiest week was Wednesday, and the busiest time of day was actually noon. Calls for service, we had 65 in July, compared to 69 last year. It's a 5.8% difference. And year-to-date, we have 366 complaints at the end of July. There were 451 last year, a total, or a change of 18.9%. Traffic arrests, we had 50 traffic arrests in July, 6 warnings, 1 crime prevention check, 15 crime reports, 23 field service reports, 2 accidents, I believe they both were property damage, hit and run accidents, and 10 criminal arrests. For significant events, in April, the department initiated an investigation of a late report rape of a child which occurred within our jurisdiction. The department, in collaboration with the Attorney General's Office, the Children's Advocacy Center, and the Division of Family Services conducted a 3.5-month-long investigation. Before charges were filed, the suspect, who was not in contact with the victim or in Delaware City at this time, insinuated to his probation officer he was armed and would not surrender to police. His exact whereabouts was unknown, prompting the assistance of additional law enforcement resources. Probation and Parole, the Delaware State Police, and the U.S. Marshals Task Force assisted our department in the prompt apprehension of the subject. On July 23rd, the Delaware State Police SORT team executed the search warrant in the city of Wilmington and took the suspect into custody without incident. The suspect was charged with rape first degree, rape second degree, sexual abuse of a child by a person of trust, continuous sexual abuse of a child, dangerous crime against a minor under 14, and sex offender unlawful sexual conduct against a child. The accused was committed to the Howard Young Correctional Institution in lieu of $250,000 cash bail. Also, our emergency response protocol, which is the company installing our cameras, they've made a significant amount of progress on the expansion project. There was an unexpected repair needed to the internet signal that's been resolved. The majority of the cameras have been installed. Funding has allowed us to add another phase, which includes several additional cameras and upgrades to the police department's monitoring capabilities. We have already utilized the footage from one of the cameras to make a misdemeanor arrest. And National Night Out 2024 will be touched on more in August, but I'd like to thank Mr. Conkus and everyone involved for another successful event. I want to remind everyone that the Delaware Law Enforcement Thank You Ride fundraiser is Thursday at Krabby Dick's. The members of this organization conduct an annual 2-day bicycling event to highlight officer line of duty deaths and officer wellness resources. While I don't directly participate in the ride, I'm familiar with several of those involved, and it's a truly great cause and way to keep the legacy of these fallen officers alive. Again, thanks to Krabby's for sponsoring the event and donating 20% of their sales from 11 a.m. to close. I hope to see you there Thursday. And finally, I'm waiting a response from the Police Officers Standards and Training Commission, their administration, to approve our accountability committee members. I hope to get things up and running so we can have our first meeting sometime this quarter. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief? All right, City Manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and residents of Delaware City. I just have a short report this month. At the top of the report, I left the community center HVAC replacement project. There's no new updates. That project is underway and it'll be going through the end of September. So I just wanted to update on that. The next one is the Madison Monroe Street Flood Mitigation Project. We had a kickoff meeting with Verdantis and DEMA. That was the first step in receiving the grant award. The next step is for Verdantis to begin the proposal process for seeking engineer services. During the kickoff meeting, Verdantis said that they believe the engineering and permitting is going to take about a year once it's started, and then the actual construction is going to take about a year. So we're looking at around a 2-year project for that. But we started, like I said, we did the kickoff, that was the first part, and now Verdantis is gonna start on the proposal for engineer services.
Excuse me, having a very hard time hearing you.
Okay, do you have a mic? Is that working? Oh, doesn't work. I'll try to talk louder. The Delaware City Library ADA ramp upgrade. The design plans for the upgrade were recently submitted, by the engineers, and it is being reviewed by the city, for a decision. The Delaware City Library lease agreement, I met with the director of the library and the president of the library board last week to discuss the 10-year lease agreement the mayor proposed last month. They submitted a counter proposal and it is being reviewed as well, so I could probably report on that next month. And then I put in here that the Delaware City special election is gonna be held on September 24th, and it's gonna be held in the community room of the library, which is different than where it's typically been held in the past few years in the gym. Due to the HVAC construction, we have to move it. So if you're not familiar with that area, just give us a call at Town Hall, we can get you there, but it's the community room of the library. If anyone is interested in running for the open council seat, you have until Monday the 26th to apply. Also, we are looking for one more person to serve on our election board. So if anyone is available for that, just contact me, please. The last thing on my report is the Phragmite removal and treatment. That is the tall grass that runs along the canal, on Canal Street. The cutting edge recently cut down the Phragmites along the canal. And we're currently reviewing 2 bids for a chemical treatment plan. It's a maintenance plan. It would happen over a few years to try and control that Phragmite area there. So we're reviewing those bids and hope to start that process in the fall. Other than that, I just wrote down that I attended the July 23rd Board of Adjustment meeting, August 5th Planning Commission meeting, and the August 14th Fort DuPont Board meeting. And then I just had a few announcements that were not reported on my report, but that have come up recently at Town Hall. So I just wanted to let everyone know we've gotten a lot of complaints about mosquitoes. We did want to just let everyone know we did spray August 1st. I know there was a couple of questions about when we had sprayed. And we do have another spray set for Tuesday the 20th, which is tomorrow, 9 p.m. or later is when they come out to spray for that. So that is happening. So I know that we've had a lot of complaints about that. I also have some cards up here if anyone wants to grab one, and it is just the website to sign up. Sorry. It's the website to sign up for text alerts from mosquito control. So if you want to grab one of those, they're up here. The other topic that I wanted to bring up is large item pickups. Anything that you have for trash that does not fit inside of the trash toter cannot be put out at the curb. We've recently had a lot of code complaints of large items being left at the curb for weeks. And then when we contact, it's hard to find out who left it there and things like that. So I also printed out the number to call the trash company for large item pickups. They cannot be left at the curb until the scheduled pickup day, but you do have to schedule pickups for anything outside of the toter. So I have that. And then the last update, the city newsletter is going to go out in September. This will be the first month that it's not delivered to every box. So if you haven't called Town Hall to get on the mailing list or to sign up for the emails, do that because it'll go out in the beginning of September, but we're no longer doing it every box mailing. You either have to be on the mailing list, on the email list, or you can always get one at Town Hall. And that's all I have.
All right. Any questions for the city manager? Or were we able to identify our portion of the Madison Monroe project?
The cost? It's, in the contract, it's around $221,000. They did mention possibly some credits from things already done,
Okay.
so it may bring it down 160 to 180. However, when they go to put out the cost for materials and services, because this was done over, I think, 2021, 2022, the cost could have gone up, which would increase our portion.
Okay.
So, we're a 10% match, and it looks like it's around 221 would be what they expected from us.
Okay, so we're gonna have to ask to allocate some of our waterfront study money?
Yeah.
Okay, well, after the RFP comes back, obviously?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
When are we allowed to ask questions? Later or now?
Under citizens' comments, you can,
Okay.
yes. All right, city solicitors report.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, members of council, it's very limited activity the last month, really related to the two ordinances before council tonight. And that's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance report?
Yes, sir. Let me make sure this. Good evening, Mayor and Council, and residents of Delaware City. Is this working? Oh, there it is. There we go. So, I'm happy to report that, since I've been here 3 months and I've learned a lot, things have become a little smoother. I even had a meeting with the outside accounting and auditing firm that allowed me to get some more insight and better understand how municipal accounting works, because it's a lot different than private. Am I talking too loud, or? And then, since the fiscal year 25 budget has been adopted, and the city council members can see right now, since we're only in the first month, we are coming into the year with a slight surplus of the $7,056.42. I will make a blanket comment. A lot of the things that come in revenue and expense-wise, July seems to be a light month here. Probably people on vacation, you know, people not as busy about coming in to pay their taxes or pay their trash bills, you know, when the bill goes out. I expect to see a lot more activity in the upcoming months, so I've seen more in August. That'll be reflected on next month's report. The only other comment I have to make really is, and I'm learning to how to go through this, but I did make some notes, and that's in my blanket comment about the CRF fund and all the money that has been held in the money market account. The mayor and myself and Brittany agreed that we would open up separate bank accounts for that, because I think it'd be simpler to track all the expenses that go against those funds, rather than have it lumped into one account where I have to make all these separate spreadsheets and tracking income and expenses that way. So that was a good idea the mayor had, actually. And then other details, I mean, because July seems to be a light month here, we're just showing a moderate amount of activity in revenue and expenses, both general and administrative. We did get the pilot fund, thanks to the contract that's between Delaware City Refinery. So that income, you know, came in already in July. And the only other comment I want to make too is Delaware City Day did get a nice $5,000 donation sponsorship, so that was good for the upcoming event in October. And if anybody has any suggestions or questions, I'd be glad to get an email or a phone call, or, you know, since I'm in the process and in the process of trying to understand, you know, where things get allocated and where they come from. So that's all I have.
Have we received our disbursement from Municipal Street Aid yet? It's supposed to come in August, they just didn't say when.
Oh. From Municipal Street Aid. No, we did not receive that yet. I do check the bank account every day, but.
And the other thing, if we can find out, I don't know, I I don't think we need this every month, but is there any way on the Wisfis Wealth investment account, is there any way we can get an annual rate of return, what we're receiving on that money?
I can look on the report that I get, yes. I get it, you know, off of their account website. And that's how I track the money that comes in. And I mean, it's been on the positive side, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I just like to know like what our return is averaging for the year, you know, so.
Okay. All right, I will let you know that.
Any other questions for the finance manager? If not, entertain a motion subject to audit.
Motion on the monthly.
Monthly finance report subject to audit.
Monthly finance report subject to audit.
All right, motion and second, any further discussion? None, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion's carried. We're going to appointments, announcements, and communications. We do have a couple appointments this evening. First one is for the Tree Commission Chairperson. I'd like to nominate Claire Wingard for a 3-year term. Open the floor for a motion.
Motion seconded.
There's a motion, there's a second.
I'll second
All right, motion is second.
Question,
Yes, sir.
should I recuse myself?
Yes, you should.
I recuse.
All right, Madam Secretary, do a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilmember Dudley.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts. Councilmember Turley.
Recuse.
All right, motion's carried, thank you. Next one's gonna be to the election board, Mr. Toby Williams, entertain a motion for that.
Motion for Toby Williams to be nominated to the election board.
It has to be Allen Williams, A-L-L-E-N.
Alan Williams, let the record reflect the change to Alan Williams.
I'll second it.
All right. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilmember Dudley.
Aye.
Councilmember Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Turley.
Aye.
All right, motion's carried, thank you. 2 appointments to the, as election officers. The first one is Lydia Dudlick. Entertain a motion.
Are these separate?
We're gonna do them separate, yes. First one's Lydia Dudlick.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Do I have to accuse myself?
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? None, roll call.
Vice Mayor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilmember Dudley.
Accuse myself.
Councilmember Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Turley.
Aye.
Motion's carried. Second one is for Mary Bricker Jenkins.
Motion for appointment.
Is there a second?
I'll second
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Vice Mayor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilmember Dudley.
it. Aye.
Councilmember Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Turley.
Aye.
All right, that motion is also carried. Thank you. That concludes all the appointments this evening. I'll open it up for announcements and communications for any organization that wants to give a report. Anyone, library?
Hi, Lori Elton, Delaware City Library Director. Thank you to everybody who came out to the end of summer reading challenge celebration on Saturday where dinosaurs took over the library. I know we frightened some little kids with our enormous dinosaur, but everybody else seemed to have fun. You still have the chance to send in your final reading challenge if you want to be eligible for the raffle. We do still have a few more programs coming up for the end of this month. We've got 2 cooking classes for kids and teens on the next 2 Wednesdays. A machine sewing class for adults next Monday. Really been a popular class if you're interested in learning how to sew on a sewing machine. It's not quite a lost art. Please come and join us. In September, this library card sign-up month. So if you know somebody who doesn't have a library card, I can help with that. Send them my way. Also, September 5th from 6 to 7 p.m. we have a Medicare seminar. So if anybody who is close to, being eligible for Medicare or on Medicare, or, you know, need some help with it, just come to the seminar, they can help you out. It's representatives from Medicare, so they'd be happy to get the information that you need, figure out what you can do with it. Check our website, check our social media, register for our programs. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Lydia?
Hi, my name is Lydia. I'm representing the Dragon Run Community Park District. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out to our most recent event, which is our Water Day Party. We had one of our biggest turnouts yet, and it was a lot of fun. I want to give a special thank you to the fire company for bringing the fire truck out. Although we don't have any events coming up this month, particularly through us, we are collaborating with Purpose Ministries, which is at the old fire hall on Main Street, and we are also collaborating with the Lions Club and the Rotary Club and the Delaware City Fire Company. This weekend there are not one, but 2 backpack drives for all the families in Delaware City. So please come out if you can't make Saturday. You can try to come Sunday. Saturday is a big event. There's going to be music, food, a slime table for kids, and the book bag drive. And then on Sunday, it is just the book bag drive, which is going to be held right out front here. You just drive up and grab your book bag full of supplies. We are also accepting volunteers at Dragon Run, so if you are looking or interested in volunteering, please reach out to me or Pam, our president, and we'd be happy to get you involved.
Thank you. Planning?
Yeah, planning, this month we reviewed the major subdivision that was presented tonight at the public hearing and recommended approval.
All right.
Next, Board of Electors. Since my wife is running for council, I am resigning from the Board of Electors.
Thank you. We'll bring it up under proper order of business.
That'll do it.
HPC?
Nothing. We did not meet this past month.
All right. Refinery, anything?
So last month, sorry, I was not here, but we were holding our annual golf tournament, and I'm happy to say that we raised over $220,000 this year, $2,000 more than last year. And Delaware City will be the recipient of some of that money. We are giving out $11,000 checks to the Tree Commission, the Food Bank, and the Fire Department. There's 17 other nonprofits throughout Delaware that will be getting $1,100 as well. We're also giving $1,000 to the PAL organization for school supplies. And we have some volunteers that are going through the AFL-CIO, and they are volunteering to help set up some of the school classrooms at all of the local school districts, and I'll be at Wilbur tomorrow. That's it.
Very good.
All right, thank you. Tim, anything Main Street?
Sure. Many thanks to everybody who showed up for National Night Out, especially Chief Henderson, who stayed the course. And so many of you came out in spite of that nasty forecast. And we had a wonderful night. And thanks to Chief Henderson, it was one of the very few National Night Outs that were held on that night. That was wonderful. Thank you all very much. We have 2 Music at the Rivers left in the season. Tomorrow night, it's going to be 74 degrees at 6 p.m., going down to 68, so bring a sweater. We've got Spooky Speaking, and that's all reggae. It's a sweet time down in the park. And when that sun sets tomorrow, it will be a wonderful, wonderful event. The following Tuesday, the last Tuesday in August, we have Judy Sings the Blues. And let me tell you, already the responses from the internet advertising are through the roof. So we expect to have a very nice turnout for that as well. Plus, it will even be more beautiful right now by the forecast on that. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yes, I'm sorry. Delaware City. Yes.
So Delaware City Day is having now every other week meetings. Our next meeting is Thursday, August 29th at 6 p.m. in the library at the Center Card Room. We're looking for a volunteer coordinator for the Day of Volunteers. So if anyone is interested, just reach out to me. You can reach me at info@delawareCityDay.com. Also, as mentioned earlier, we would like to announce that the refinery is our diamond sponsor again this year with a $10,000 donation. So we're very grateful. That's it. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Is anyone else, anyone overlooked, or is anybody here from the fire company? All right, final call. All right. Before we move on to old business, is there anyone here for the public hearing who wants to speak on behalf of the ordinance or the major subdivision? All right, now I'm going to recess the public hearing. I'm going to move into old business. Item 1 is second reading and possible adoption of ordinance 24071501 related to private use of city property. I heard earlier that there were some concerns moving forward. So if you want to table this, you're going to need that in the form of a motion.
I move that we table the issue relating to the private use of city property.
I'll second it.
Motion second to table. Any further discussion?
So now that we've tabled it, what are we looking to accomplish?
Well, personally, the issues Councilman Turley brought up, I'd like to see them resolved.
I'm fine with it.
I'd like to just add a stipulation to get the suggestions back to the solicitor so we can take action on this next month, because it is a very important and pressing issue, and we have violations out there taking place now that we need to get resolved, so I don't wanna keep, we've been talking about this for like 4 months, I don't wanna keep dragging this on.
But yet again, you wanna make sure we're all on the same page with it, too, correct?
Well, we do, but I think what the solicitor was saying is, you know, even if we decided to move forward as a starting point, there's nothing saying that we can't come back and change this in the future. But I just want, you know, council to consider all options, that's all. Is everybody still comfortable with tabling? All right, any further discussion? None, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. To go into new business, item number 1 is the major subdivision for 721 through 723 Clinton Street, submitted by J&B Contractors LLC.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just address this briefly.
Yes, sir.
There were 5 lots reduced to 4. It's still a major plan under the code because the code minor plans are 3 lots or less. So it still is a major plan. What has to happen before it gets to city council is that it has to go to the planning commission, which you heard recommended in favor of this project. Then the city manager is responsible for making sure there's full compliance with all the regulations in the city code. And AECom is the city engineer, and they've reviewed all this and indicated compliance with the city code. So when this gets to you for approval, you're basically are relying on the city manager's review, AECom's professional advice that it conforms with the code. That's really where you're at. So if this plan is in conformance with the code, you have to vote in favor. And what you've heard, what I've just stated, is that AECom has reviewed the plan for conformance and agreed it's in conformance with the code. They did seek some variances that to add another lot that were not approved. So once they took that lot out, then did not need any variances for the last 4 lots.
So at this point, AECom has approved it,
Yes.
and the city manager has approved it,
Yes.
And planning.
and planning.
Question. And all of these compliances did include the stormwater question that was raised?
Yes.
Question. So there can't be any changes after the approvals, correct?
There can't be any changes after it's approved.
Oh, no, that's correct. There cannot be any changes after it's approved. That's correct.
I assume that AECom does an environmental impact during their engineering study?
Well, they wouldn't consider any protected resources that are on this plan. I think there's some on the end of that one lot that that's why that house was pushed over to the right. the applicant could address, is that correct, applicant?
100-year floodplain.
All right, based upon the recommendation of planning, city manager and AECom will entertain the motion to approve the major subdivision.
Enter a motion to approve the major subdivision. Question, somebody questioning, or is that, there he is. I hear him back there, he's talking.
I just have a question, and I don't mean to interrupt.
We can do it very briefly, but all this should have been covered under public comment.
No.
I'm sorry, public hearing.
Okay, I'm just stumped because of what the solicitor just said, okay, or, I'm sorry. This was apparently approved, so the people that got the registered letters and everything really have never had any say in any of this. We never, ever we never were approached prior to this being approved.
I wanna add that there were, I thought, several, adjacent neighbors, across street neighbors who were at the planning commission.
Excuse me, sir, I was at the only very first that said they were gonna build 5 houses, and we knocked it down to 4. But prior to that, he was allowed to buy, and I'm not being negative towards the gentleman, he was allowed to buy property and say, now that I brought this property for X dollars, I'm gonna put 5 homes on it. And here in Delaware City, this is what I wanna do. But nobody in the area ever had any say about what was to go up.
I was at the meeting as well, but I do respectfully disagree, because when we had the meeting, due to public involvement, it was reduced from 5 to 4 based upon what the feedback was from the public. And, hold on one second.
Right.
And there were several residents at the meeting.
I was there.
And actually called and talked to council members and myself after that meeting in favor of the project, as long as they reduced it from 5 to 4. So the public process was very much taken into consideration.
But I don't know how he was allowed, how was he approved for a major subdivision before anyone in the area was able to even say anything about it?
I can answer that question.
It was approved after we had the hearing at the community center. It wasn't approved before that meeting.
No, the only thing that was approved, what we talked about was knocking it from 5 houses to 4 houses. That was
Correct.
what, and we didn't really get an approval on it, we just got to state our comments, and then the board voted on the knockdown from 5 to 4. We didn't get to state anything about how this major division came about. He bought a piece of property and said, Delaware City, I want to put 5 homes.
Well, that's where we have to rely on our code and our ordinances to dictate how these projects are managed, and they met all the planning and zoning requirements.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could just address that basically the process involves the planning commission's involvement. And when the planning commission evaluated this plan, they had to look at the consistency of the comp plan, the consistency of the character of the neighborhood, consistency with zoning, suitability of the property, and effect on nearby properties. And at that public meeting, people raised issues about traffic and density and lot sizes and all those things. But that's what the planning commission looked at. And from the input of the community, that's really ultimately what caused the lot reduction from 5 to 4. So, that's basically the process that you follow. The planning commission plays an important role in that. It was great that people came out, because that, in large part, gave people the information they needed to digest and see what was appropriate there. And then the Board of Adjustment, of course, denied the variances on that. In part, some people from the community were there as well, because
Right, I mean, I was there, and the rezoning of the homes, they wanted to knock the property lines down to 52, and Newcastle County said, no, we have to stay at 60. That's how they went from 5 homes to 4, basically. It wasn't our input of, you know, it's a moot point at this point, but I just wanted to know how somebody can buy a piece of property and come to Delaware City and say, I'm gonna put up 5 homes. So basically, my property is as big as theirs. I could tear down my house and come to you and say, I'm gonna put up a subdivision.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
okay.
Yep, if that's what you choose to do, you, by all means.
But yet again, you're gonna go through the same process those people did.
I understand.
Yeah. And that's all it dictated, I want to just understand, that it's dictated by our codes, it's not, and I'm speaking not in favor or against the project, I'm speaking on behalf of the city, what is in our code, and what is permissible by our code. When we have a by right building process, they went through the process, it was recommended by planning, it met all the requirements by the city manager, it met all the requirements by AECom, so realistically, there is no means for council to vote it down. They're obligated to pass it because they checked off all the boxes.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, there's really no right for even the people that live around that property to even speak their mind.
Yes, that was when the planning commission met, is open to the public. The board of adjustments is open to the public. We just had a public hearing on the topic, and I'm even allowing, which I really don't have to do, I'm even allowing more discussion, which these comments are typically reserved for council, and even allowing more interaction from the public to explain the process. So as far as where I stand, we've gone above and beyond to incorporate as much of the comment and input from the public as we could, honestly. Any further discussion? We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilmember Dudley.
Opposed?
Councilmember Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Turley.
Aye.
All right, motion is carried. Second item is discussion on employee tuition assistance. Open the floor. I believe this was a result of conversations that took place last meeting in executive session, so now we're discussing it in a public session. This is just basically to discuss a employee tuition assistance program in general, not specific to any of the employees. So we basically have to determine what, if council wants to establish a tuition assistance program, and what some of those policies and procedures would be to guide the city manager on that process. So I'll open the floor.
Well, I guess the first question would be employee status. Is there a minimum time they have to be employed? Is there a minimum time they have to stay employed after they receive the tuition assistance? How much tuition assistance are we gonna provide? And where's the budget fall on that? Right off the top, 6 questions.
I mean, normal, I wanna say normal, I'll say average tuition assistance is around $2,500 an employee. They have to be on a satisfactory or above employee evaluation, but certainly the other topics that you bring up are certainly valid questions that should be or considered in a policy. So I think, honestly, I think what council's role tonight is, number one, is to either support or deny the tuition assistance program, determine that amount, and then the city manager would put a policy together that would outline everything that we talked about tonight and dictate the policy.
There may be one other issue. Is the purpose of the tuition to assist the individual in their general development, or is the purpose of the tuition to assist an individual or individuals within the city structure to develop skills directly related to and would directly benefit the operation of our city government? In other words, is it more for the person, or is it to benefit Delaware City?
It has to benefit the town in order to pay this tuition, and then there has to be some type of longevity commitment on top of that, where the employee would have to stay for so many years to make up for that assistance. But it has to be directly involved to their role with the city, for sure.
What about a grade average?
I'm sorry?
Grade average. Like other places that I've worked, you have to have like a B and above. in order to qualify for this.
Yeah.
Anything below that, no, you don't get it.
No, absolutely, it's something that had to be built into the policy for sure. Or we can, we can defer to, once the city manager develops some of this criteria, we can defer back to council for a vote. The city manager can bring it forward every month with a request after we make this policy and say that the employee checked off all these boxes, she can recommend, and council can vote on it.
Hate to put it on you, Britt, but yeah, I think we need a policy written up so we at least have something to start with. Even if it's a bare bones, something for us to go.
I can research, what this typically looks like and then create something and then we can adjust it from there if that's helpful.
I mean, I agree, we should be doing something like this for our employees, whether it's a regular employees or police department. We should be doing that to further people's education and make them more valuable to the city, but we have to obviously set some parameters in place first. So what's council's pleasure? Would you like the city manager to bring a draft policy back next month with recommendations?
I would.
Okay. Are you okay doing that, Brittany?
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
All right, could somebody make that in the form of a motion, please?
Motion for a city manager to present a proposal for tuition assistance of city employees.
Second.
Any further discussion? None, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion's carried. All right, introduction, first reading of ordinance 24-0819-01 off-street parking and loading. Somebody, Bill, you want to tee this
Yeah,
one up for us?
if I could start the discussion.
Yep.
So essentially, this all started when someone purchased a commercial property that only had 2 or 3 off-street parking spaces, and their parking demand under the code was 20 spaces or more. So the option at that time was you can go to the Board of Adjustment and seek a variance to go from 20 required spaces to 2 spaces. And when you go to the Board of Adjustment in that situation, you would argue that, yeah, but there's all this on-street parking that's available in the area, so therefore I shouldn't be held to that standard because there's plenty of on-street parking. It may not be on my property, but it's there and it's available. I think council wanted to be a little bit more open with the idea of, we have these commercial properties, many of them don't actually meet the technical commercial parking requirements. And I think the planning commission looked at this a few times and studied the issue. It appears there's significant unused on-street parking spaces that should count towards people's parking requirement. So what this ordinance does, and it relates to what the planning commission recommended, was that the parking requirements within the C1 and C1L commercial districts, the parking has to be on the property or within a half a mile of that particular building. So essentially, it opens up the public parking on the commercial district and behind that in the public parking spaces. And so that would eliminate the need for a variance before the Board of Adjustment. Somebody in the same situation as that original applicant could say, I'm buying a property, there's only 2 off-street parking spaces, but we've got all this public parking in the area. Do I need to really get a variance? Then the city manager can look at that and say, you're right, there is a lot of parking there. And under the ordinance, it says, if you have a combination of available off-street and on-street parking, then the plan could be permitted to proceed forward without getting a variance. So, this went to the planning commission. I think they actually discussed it a couple times.
Yes, we did.
Before coming up with this solution. I think even members of council talked about opening that up. Now, the current parking requirements stay as stated, like that stays in the code, but this would be an exception with the C1 and C1L districts to allow this expanded parking opportunity. Now, if things get busy and businesses need more parking demand, at some point, there won't be enough parking. And at that point, the city manager can say, I know you want to rely on this on-street parking, but guess what? It doesn't exist anymore sufficiently. You have to go to the Board of Adjustment. So it doesn't forever mean that people are gonna be able to utilize this exception. But for now, when businesses are coming in, they could utilize this exception to use on-street parking as part of their parking requirement without a variance. Yes.
Question, are there any ADA requirements that would stipulate that there needed to be X number of spots available within a distance of the business itself that this addresses or might need to address?
It's actually within a half a mile of the business. That's what the stipulation is.
ADA spots, handicap spots.
All right, any other questions?
Section F, in the event the city council rejects an applicant's application, the applicant may file a request for review of a court of competent jurisdiction. Who's our court of competent jurisdiction?
It'd be the Superior Court.
Okay. Last time I checked, we didn't have a judge at the courthouse with a chief over there, so.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All right, entertain a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 24081901.
Motion to approve first reading of 25081901.
24.
24081901.
All right, any further discussion? Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilmember Dedwick.
Aye.
Councilmember Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Turley.
Aye.
All right, motion's carried. All right, new business, just let the record reflect, I am in receipt of Tim Delaplane's letter of resignation effective immediately from the Board of Electors due to Lynn Delaplane being a candidate in the upcoming election. All right, member of council comments. Councilman Dudley?
No comment.
Councilman Turley?
No comment.
Councilman Roberts?
Not at this time, sir.
Vice Mayor?
I would like to thank Bob for all his years. The first time I voted, you were one of our election officials, so thanks for doing all this time. Huh?
I'll miss the free dinner.
All right, a couple quick announcements that I have. The first one pertains to the food closet that Betty has ran for a number of years. Everybody knows Betty's experienced some health issues, so she has stepped away from the food closet, but it allowed us to consolidate our food closet with the church. So we're still going to run the food closet out of one location, kind of consolidate everything. So the food program will not be going away. It's just going to be a condensed and consolidated version of how we were running them both before. Do you have anything to add, George?
No, the Broken Bread Food Closet, we're excited, we're happy. It's a beautiful facility. We love the, held our food closet meetings there on the second Monday and the last Monday of the month. So, we thank you very much, Mayor and Council.
All right, thank you. The camera project, I think that is nearing completion, and we're gonna look at additional cameras to add to this project. Is that correct, Chief Henderson?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Still finalizing all that.
So more, we'll have more to report on that next month. Artesian is planning to do some dig-ups on Clinton Street sometime in September. They have to replace water main from 2nd to 5th. Once that's done, the city manager is going to solicit an RFP for paving from Clinton from 2nd to 5th, which is part of our paving project anyway, but due to the dollar amount of that project, we're gonna have to solicit 3 bids through an automatic RFP process, so that will be coming up in the coming months, so keep an eye out for that. And the final thing, I wanted to set the record straight. There was some inaccurate posts and comments today on one of the Facebook pages about this dog park. It kind of got off rail a little bit and off sidetracked. I just want to give everybody an accurate update of what happened for the dog park, where we're at, and what the path forward looks like. So, back in the spring, we started getting inquiries from the public about considering a dog park somewhere in Delaware City, which we're getting a lot of requests. It sounded like a great idea. Put it on Facebook to, since land was at a premium, put put it on Facebook to get some ideas. We're looking at 7th Street, we're looking at the community center. 7th Street seemed to be like the overwhelming majority where people wanted it. Started getting feedback from some of the residents that, maybe they didn't want it that close to their house, so we started reconsidering, and actually last month, I asked to put it back to the planning commission, I had them take a look at it to see if there's a way we can partner with Fort DuPont, and maybe put something over there that's away from the residential areas. Yes.
The Fort DuPont already has a dog park area in their amenities public area.
Understood. The reason I wanted us to look at it is see if there's an opportunity for us to help partner with them and we can contribute to the project. Couple of the other things as far as how the process worked. We were considering using Mayor's Ball money because the money has been sitting there for 5 years. It was done in cooperation with former Mayor Stan Green. It is not my Mayor's Ball money per se. I have not held a Mayor's Ball as was pointed out on Facebook, and I will gladly stand up and say, no, I have not, for several different reasons. Number one, when I took over mayor, I walked directly into a pandemic that I was more concerned about dealing with the safety and health and the welfare of our residents and our employees versus having a Mayor's Ball. The second reason, the original intent of the Mayor's Ball was not for Delaware City to host it on an annual event. It was supposed to be passed around to other municipalities and allow other municipalities an opportunity to raise funds as well. And finally, I want to point out on the financial report, I'm not comfortable holding a Mayor's Ball and soliciting funds from the public when we're sitting on a record amount of grant money that we've gotten since I became mayor. We're sitting on right now over $4 million in grant money. I cannot in good faith go out and ask the public to donate money for funds when we're sitting on $4 million worth of investments that we're putting back in this community. So, if anybody wants to see that as a negative or take a shot at me for not doing it, I'll take it. But I am not going back to the public when we're sitting on that amount of money. I'm sorry. So that concludes my report, and I will open the floor up to citizens' comments. Yes, sir.
Back, I think it was April, I brought up the subject of a pay increase for the mayor and council. And it's been bounced around, but nothing's being done about it, it seems. So I'd like, if we can, try to get that on the schedule and readdress it, do some investigation for it.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, Tim?
Tim Delaplane, 118 Clinton Street. One of the comments I heard from the finance manager was that the upcoming budget is approved. And in that, what did we decide to do about the senior discount on real estate tax? I was asking for, treated somewhat like the county where once and done, because as seniors, we don't really get that kind of increases worthwhile.
Yeah, honestly, I think what we were waiting for at this point was to get a couple finance reports in, since we had a new finance manager, see what the implications were gonna be on the budget and see where we come in at. But I'll be perfectly honest with you, we haven't had, with the turnover and trying to get this budget together and all that stuff, we have not had an opportunity to take a serious look at that.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's not done, it's not off the radar. We were just trying to get this budget put together to see where we were at. We're trying to get the pension together for the police and all that other stuff, and then see where we were at. But it's not off the table, we just need a little bit more time to look into them.
Okay.
Anyone else? Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week I heard and read that it looks like our friends from DART are going to leave us. And I think that's a big concern. And I'll read you what I sent to the state as well as to the folks at DART. And it says that please do not discontinue DART bus service here in Delaware City. There are numerous seniors, including myself, that occasionally need the bus service. especially in the near future, if and when we're unable to drive. Please look into decreasing the frequency, however, instead, as we understand we are not a big town like Wilmington, or better still, offer some type of promotion to enhance ridership. You know just as well as I do, there's not a lot of people riding that bus. So maybe some program could be pushed in there to support it. I hope that Dart management will reconsider and realize that this is a mistake, taking away this service. And I'd like to thank them very much for at least listening and review it before you just take it away, period, and don't even try to resolve it. So maybe they listen to us, maybe they not, but I did talk to some of my friends in Dover about it, so we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Mike. Just real quick to elaborate on that a little bit, I've also been in contact with our state officials and state reps and people in state government. The only thing I want to say, what they're doing right now is just a review from now till November. They're not going to make any permanent changes till November. We do have to somehow get our ridership up, because I asked for the data for the past 5 years, and our ridership is trending down considerably. Where sometimes some routes or some trips, there's only one person on the bus, which from a financial standpoint, I can kind of understand, but what I would recommend, if there's any way that people can take the bus more and get those numbers up, that's certainly gonna help save the bus. We can call as much as we want, and we can do as much as we want to lobby for it, but if the numbers don't justify keeping it, that's where the challenge is gonna be.
Another pending, issues coming up too. If we have the bus service with the expansion of the local airport, Newcastle County Airport, ILG, and they're using that bus service, if we can use the bus service from here to go to the ILG airport instead of going all the way up to Philadelphia, that'd be advantageous.
Understood.
They ought to look into this, and I hope that DART can think a little bit better than making these claims that, well, I understand they're not making enough money. Well, let's look into it a little bit more. Let's get some programs going. Let's look at it to seniors, because, hey, I'm not gonna be able to drive maybe 10 years from now. I'm gonna need their bus to take me up there.
Understood. And we'll continue working on it for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is DART tax supported?
DART is a state agency, yes.
So yes, it is. So we are taxpayers.
Understood, yes. Yeah, absolutely. So I'd encourage people to call as much as possible, reach out to their state reps. All that stuff certainly helps, but at the end of the day, we've got to find some way to get our numbers up as well. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Marie Booth, I'd like to address that if I might. I spoke at the town hall meeting in Wilmington regarding the cancellation of the 44 a couple of weeks ago. Met up with a representative of DART who pressed her visitor card into our hands and said, maybe there's some ways that we can work with Delaware City to increase ridership. I said, especially seeing as we are in some ways a tourist town, especially if there was a way to have weekend service that might decrease some of the parking issues that we encounter on Saturdays and Sundays. What I would like to propose, and I don't know if I'm doing it in the correct format, please correct me if I've got it wrong, is perhaps the formation of a committee, 1 to 2 council members, concerned citizens, who could look at not just preserving the current bus system, but looking towards the future. How can we work with DART? I know you mentioned promotions. I've lived in cities where they very actively promote, take this bus to get to the zoo, take this bus to get to the museum. Imagine having some sort of a campaign, take this bus to go down to historic Delaware City and enjoy all of the benefits. But is that a possibility? Could we consider 1 or 2 council members plus perhaps a small group of concerned citizens who might be able to meet with the DART representative and discuss ideas for DART's future?
It sounds perfectly reasonable to me. We couldn't do it tonight because it's
No,
not
of
on the
course.
agenda, but we could certainly present it next month if there's enough interest, for sure.
How would that do? Would I need to present something?
We can put it on the agenda for
In more formal
possible.
proposal?
We can put it on the agenda for possible, adding a committee to discuss the bus route. We can do that.
Right, I think not just let's save the bus, yes, let's make sure that we still have a bus come November, but let's also focus on the future of Delaware City and DART and how to build that relationship to the benefit of both.
Yeah, that's great. And I think part of those discussions need to also revolve around, right now, the bus only goes to the mall, the Christiana Mall, and that doesn't meet a lot of people's needs, so there needs to be other options as well, but that could be part of the discussions for that committee.
Well, the mall is a main connector though
Understood.
to other buses.
Understood.
I use the bus a lot. If there's anybody, I know for some people it's intimidating. How do I navigate on a bus? I would personally volunteer to help anybody who would like to learn how to navigate a bus to something, the grocery store or the movie theater or, you know, certain areas of the mall, or if you want to go to the zoo or if you want to go to the museum. I would be happy to provide assistance with anybody who would like to.
The Wilmington train station's helpful too, 'cause I took it up there.
Yeah, I've done that. I've taken it to the Wilmington train station, taken the train, and then flew out of Philadelphia. And the fact that now we have this deal with American Airlines and the Wilmington Airport.
We'd love to have you on this new committee if it gets, you know, materialized and we can go from there, so thank you for. Sir.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm here for the dog park thing, and I don't know what we're doing with it. It's supposed to be, can you explain to what is going to happen at the 7th Street Park?
I just explained that before this, but.
I know, and I didn't catch it. There's
Okay.
nothing gonna happen there?
Nothing's happened at 7th Street Park. It was kicked back to the planning commission to consider if we can partner with Fort DuPont.
So that was just a rumor, a vicious lie?
Well, it resurfaced on Facebook somehow, but we started discussing it back in May, and it was brought up last month's meeting to put it back in planning. I don't know how it came about on Facebook today. It really doesn't matter, but, there were a lot of inaccurate statements on
My house
Facebook.
backs up to the park, and I bought my house because the park's there.
Yeah, understood.
And, you know, I was concerned about the dog
Yeah.
park thing.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we wanted to hear from the residents who want to be impacted, and that's exactly why it was put on hold and we're considering other
Well,
options.
I think I'm speaking for a couple of us, you know, it's,
Yeah.
we just was curious about what is, you know, what is or what isn't.
Yeah, so it looks like at this point, we're looking at, it's on the master plan for Fort DuPont to put a dog park over there.
Okay.
So the discussions need to revolve around if that is still funded in the master plan, when that phase of construction is gonna take place, and is there an opportunity for Delaware City to partner with Fort DuPont to make that happen, so we have some type of ownership in that project as well.
Okay.
But right now, nothing's happening at 7th Street Park.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
As far as the dog park and the park and the playground there, years ago, during Delaware City Day, when, back in July, okay, they had this, table out, okay? They were trying to get water pad things for the kids to be installed at the park. Okay, I donated to it, okay, but then I never heard of what happened to that idea. It just kind of fell through. And
First I heard, who was soliciting the funds?
I can't remember, but it was down at Delaware City Day, they had a table set up, they were selling raffle tickets and stuff like that. And it was for this water pad thing for the kids to be at the 7th Street.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, that's the first I heard of that, or anybody soliciting funds. I can guarantee you there was nobody on behalf of the city doing that.
It was at that time. It was like when I first moved to Delaware City, so within the last 10 years. Okay, but now, you know, that got dropped, and then we're hearing about the dog park. I'm like, well, instead of doing a dog park where it's gonna stink to high heavens, why not revisit this water pad thing for the kids in the summertime?
It's something we can consider. I mean, I don't know if we can do like a splash pad or anything like that. We were looking for ideas early in the spring, and that's, I mean, I can tell you, I got a huge amount of responses back for a dog park. I mean, it was,
And that's probably from people who don't even live in that area.
well, not
Because
specifically.
I know I live in Harbor Estates, I don't wanna smell that.
No, just in general, I don't think they were initially talking about, the initial discussions didn't even know where we were thinking about putting it, they just wanted one in general. So in general, there's an overwhelming amount of support to have a dog park. And if it ends up in Fort DuPont in a non-residential area, that seems like that makes the most sense.
Yeah, that's fine over there, as long as, you know, the residents don't have to put up with that odor, because the people can't clean up after their dogs when they're walking them. Why do you think they're gonna clean up after them in a dog park? Okay, so, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, you know, but another thing that's going on recently, I have really foul odor coming from my water at the house, and it's been going on for like 2 weeks now. I don't know if that's something that can be checked out.
Well, we can get you the contact information for Artesian. As a city, we don't have anything to do with the water system anymore.
Okay, one more question. From what I understand, we now have 5 police officers, okay? Why is it that we don't have police coverage after midnight? Can't there be a police officer on after midnight? To wait for somebody to come from Newcastle County, it can take a really long time.
We do, I'll defer to the police chief, we do have coverage after midnight, but we're not gonna disclose what that schedule is, because we honestly don't want people knowing when we have police officers here. But we do, I would defer to the chief to discuss that, but we do have coverage past midnight. But I'm not gonna publicly announce what that coverage is, because we don't want the criminals to know when they're not here.
We have much more coverage than we had in fiscal year '24. I can tell you that. And then to go into and even start thinking about 24-hour coverage, we're going into the early morning hours. You need like 8 police officers. So we're doing what we can do. And there's 4 full-time and 2 part-time.
In order to get to that.
That's
Yes.
including me, yes.
In order to get to that magic number of 8 would require a considerable tax increase. That's why we're trying to honestly piecemeal the department together with retirees and people that don't need benefits the best we can, because they're, in my opinion, with inflation and the way things are very expensive right now, the chief does a great job of scheduling the officers, so when we don't have coverage, it's in a very low crime designated time slot, without going into a lot of details, 4 o'clock in the morning maybe on certain days. So we try to be very creative on scheduling, so we minimize the amount of time that the county has to come in here. But that's been the challenge for the past several years, is to try to get a 24/7 department, and it's just not possible without going back to the public with a significant tax increase. I mean, absence of a tax increase, my plan was to wait until Fort DuPont continues to get built out and we increase the tax base over there. That will certainly help increase more revenue, where we can put all that money toward public safety. Of course, that's gonna be a couple-year process, but I would much rather do that than go back to the public for a tax increase. Well, we could, but I don't wanna go back to the public when the public's already struggling, and make ends meet, you know, it's a tough decision, but, you know, that's where I stand anyway. So.
Sorry, sir. Are you saying no one comes, or they're just, you have to wait?
It takes a really long time.
Because I've gotten reports that no one's responding for some complaints. We're addressing that also.
So far, thank God I haven't experienced that, but it does take a really long time. So.
Again, that's, no one's gonna take care of this town like your town police department. And in their defense, they're very busy. They're at like 60,000 complaints for the year. I've worked there, I know what it's like. We probably have about 6 hours on average, 6 more hours a day of coverage. I don't like officers working alone or in busy hours. I go home at night and have to worry about that.
The number of traffic, you know, for the last couple of months, we were getting a lot of complaints about speeders and traffic infractions and stuff like that. The number of interactions that our officers had with motorist has increased significantly, compared to the last couple months, so, you know, that part of it is being taken care of, but if you have any issues like that you're not getting a response or anything like that, feel free to call the non-emergency number at Town Hall and ask to speak to the chief, and I'm sure he'll address your concerns. Yes, ma'am.
Gail Smith, Jefferson Street. I forgot what I was gonna say, no.
Okay, thanks.
No, don't you dare. Anything on the, campground?
I do not have an update for the campground. Tim Slavin is not here tonight, but I will see if he can make the next meeting and give us an update.
Is it Sun, the company that's supposed to?
No, Blue Water Development.
Oh, Blue Water,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
And with the parking, when, you said a half a mile, that's the whole town, right? I mean, moreover, a half a
It's
mile
just a
is a
C,
big.
was C1 and C1L, correct?
Right.
So it's
Not-
commercial,
not every
it's just a
parking.
commercial district.
Oh, just the commercial
Yes.
district? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know the parking, even in the residential areas, sometimes people park on the streets, and several of them park right across from each other, and it's difficult to, I didn't know if, because if it's town property, what do we have, 15 feet into a person's yard, that's the town property?
You mean in the right of way? No, it's not that much, it's not 50 feet.
No.
No.
Okay,
Each
there's
street's a
not
little bit-
really anything you can do about that?
Not really.
All right. That's it.
All right. Terry?
Randy and I would just like to recognize this amazingly well-behaved child in the background. I have a puppy and I can't make him be like that. So yay you.
Is there any other public comments? Any other public comments? All right, if not, I do have a couple very brief things if we could go into executive session, so if we can entertain a motion to go into executive session, please.
Motion to go in executive session?
All those in favor?
Aye.
We don't have them, because they're on, they give us.
That's a small reading?
Yeah. That's it for the public, I mean, they may come back and